At least 29 people were killed and 19 injured in Mexico after a passenger bus plummeted into a ravine. The bus was traveling from Mexico City through southern Oaxaca state, crashed at around 6:30 a.m. It crashed after the driver lost control of the vehicle. This according to the state interior minister, Jesus Romero. As per reports, at least 14 people were hospitalized, 5 others were airlifted. In a tragic incident, at least 17 people, including children, died due to a gas leak in South Africa. The incident took place late on Wednesday in an informal settlement near the city of Johannesburg. As per the emergency services, leakage of a poisonous gas from a cylinder kept in a shanty caused the incident. It is suspected that this gas is nitrate oxide and was being used for illegal mining. The first responders arrived in middle-class suburb of Boksburg. They found scores of people lying across the area. Meanwhile, emergency services were looking for more victims. US Secretary of State Anthony Blinken met Haiti's Prime Minister Ariel Henry, where he promised additional security support to the crime-ravaged Caribbean nation. Blinken reaffirmed US aid for Haiti's security forces. He further called for international support to help the country combat crime. Since last year, Henry has called for an international force to limit the gangs that control large parts of the country. This is fueling humanitarian crisis that has displaced tens of thousands of people. The meeting took place in Trinidad and Tobago, where Blinken attended the Caribbean Community Heads of Government meeting. Yet another mass shooting has rocked the United States of America. This time, the state in question is Louisiana, where a party marking Independence Day celebrations took a tragic turn. According to the reports, 4 people have been killed and more than 7 others have been injured. During a block party in Shreveport, Louisiana, over 100 people were gathered for this party. At the moment, the motive behind the shooting is unknown. While investigation is underway, the police authorities have not made any arrests so far. US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen is all set to arrive in China for a 3-day visit from the 6th to the 9th of July. This is the second high-profile visit by a top Washington official to China in just a couple of months. Her visit comes amid highly ruffled ties between the two economies. Over heightened national security, there have been concerns regarding technology, trade and diplomatic differences to escalated tensions in the Taiwan Strait and, of course, the Ukraine war. All are points of contention. Yellen's visit is expected to rebuild bridges between America and Beijing. Last month, in a bid to boost the bilateral ties, the US Secretary of State Anthony Blinken was also in Beijing. Buenos Aires metro facilities remained empty after workers went on strike to demand the removal of asbestos in their work areas and a reduction in working hours. Asbestos is recognized as being extremely poisonous and linked to lung and other cancers. According to the Secretary General of the subway workers, in 3 years there have been 2,500 workers under medical surveillance. 7 workers are living with cancer and 3 have even died from the effects of asbestos. Outside the metro facilities, there was heavy traffic and long queues of people waiting for buses to take them to their workplaces. The US Navy has accused Iran of trying to unlawfully seize 2 oil tankers near the strategic Strait of Hormuz, opening fire on one of them. The Iranian naval vessels reportedly backed off after the US Navy dispatched a guided missile destroyer to the scene. US Navy says that both commercial ships continued their voyages thereafter. adding that the gunfire directed at the second vessel did not cause casualties or major damage. There was no immediate Iranian comment on the incidents. The US Navy says Iran has seized at least 5 commercial vessels in the last 2 years and has harassed more than a dozen others. In the latest on Israel demonstrations, Tel Aviv's police commander said he is quitting the force. Ami Eshed cited political intervention by the union cabinet ministers as the reason. He said Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's cabinet members want excessive force to be used against anti-government protesters. In a televised statement, he said, and I'm quoting him here, he couldn't live up to the expectations of the ministerial echelon. He further blamed the government for breaking all the rules and interfering in decision-making. Hundreds of farmers from across Spain staged a tractor protest in Madrid. The protest was against the lack of government funding to battle the effects of a prolonged drought in the country. Riding their tractors, protesters went to the Agriculture Ministry and placed a coffin with a skeleton. They said the future of the countryside is at stake if measures are not urgently taken. Earlier, the cabinet meeting arrived at a royal decree law that included a powerful package of urgent measures. The measures were supposed to support the agricultural sector to tackle the prolonged drought situation. Mourners gathered on Wednesday in the West Bank city of Jenin after the intense 2-day Israeli military operation that killed at least 12 Palestinians. The bodies of 8 Palestinians were carried through the streets with mourners chanting and carrying flags. Jenin operation drove thousands of people from their homes, leaving a wide swath of damage. One Israeli soldier was also killed. The army claimed to have inflicted heavy damage on militant groups in the Jenin refugee camp. This in an operation that included a series of airstrikes and hundreds of ground troops. Scotland marked the coronation of King Charles and his wife Camilla with a grand procession. The procession was followed by a service of thanksgiving at St. Giles Cathedral. The ceremony happened yesterday as per the Scottish conventions that demanded the king to be crowned again with all the pomp and joy. In Scotland, the king was presented with the honours of Scotland, Britain's oldest crown jewels. The British Royal Air Force planes performed a flypast following the coronation service in the city. The red arrows passed over the palace of Holyrood of the house, watched by King Charles and Queen Camilla. Europe's Ariane 5 rocket blasted off from French Guiana for the final time, this time carrying 2 military communications satellites and leaving its nations with a vacuum and autonomous access to space for the first time in more than 4 decades. Europe until recently depended on Ariane 5 and its 11-ton plus capacity for heavy missions, as well as Russia's Soyuz launcher from medium payloads and Italy's Vega for small ones. Samsung Electronics' June quarter profit is expected to plunge 96%, reaching its lowest level in over 14 years. The chip division, traditionally its biggest earner, is likely to report significant losses due to falling memory chip prices and reduced inventory values. However, Samsung remains focused on increasing its presence in the chip market, in the AI chip market. In contrast, its mobile business is expected to see a slight drop in smartphone shipments but a positive operating profit. Samsung is set to unveil its latest foldable smartphones ahead of schedule to maintain its dominance in the premium phone market. Sri Lanka cuts key interest rates for the second consecutive month, signaling a focus on reviving economic growth after a devastating crisis. The move aims to reduce borrowing costs for businesses and individuals, supporting economic activity and aiding the recovery. Analysts anticipate further rate cuts in the coming months to stimulate the economy. A river running through Aikoma city in western Japan turned bright green on Wednesday morning. This concerned local residents as investigations into the incident were ongoing. A video posted on social media showed the Tatsuta River in a lime green color. There were no irritating smells despite the abnormal color. According to public broadcaster NHK, officials found the water to be non-toxic even after the color that was seen, and this was deduced after conducting a simple test. The Aikoma City Hall asked farmers not to use the river's water for agricultural purposes until the water's safety can be confirmed. The global air temperature has reached a record high for the second day in a row. As per reports, US meteorologists say Tuesday was the hottest day on record. This tops the previous day's record high. This time, the average daily air temperature on the Earth's surface reached 17.18 degrees Celsius. On Monday, the average temperature reached 17 degrees for the first time. The EU Climate Monitoring Unit, Copernicus, says Monday was the hottest day since 1940, when record-keeping began. This is a fresh sign of rising temperatures and escalating climate change driven by human activity and the burning of fossil fuels. A weather anomaly has shaken Mongolian capital, Ulaanbaatar, to its core. Torrential rains have transformed this traditionally dry city into a watery battleground. The rains have forced hundreds to flee their homes as per media reports. Electricity has also been cut in few buildings as a precaution, and many roads are closed. The government declared high alert in the city. As per Mongolia's weather agency, the rain is set to continue for another 2 days. Monsoon has begun in South Asia and Pakistan is wary. The incessant downpour has caused disruption already in the city of Lahore. The disaster has claimed over 7 lives. Roads have been flooded. People could be seen walking in knee-deep water. Inflatable boats are out on the streets as people try to escape the inundated areas. Rainfall of over 291 millimeters in just 10 hours broke a 30-year record. Areas including the Muslim town, Garden town and Gulberg are underwater due to overflowing of Lahore Canal. The weather department says that heavy rainfall is expected to continue intermittently in Lahore. Cyber criminals have been targeting schools in the United States and have been dumping their data online. The confidential stolen data describes sexual assaults, abusive parentage, and reveals highly sensitive and intimate information about the students. There are stories of victims recalling the trauma of abuse. And if the school refuses to pay the ransom amount, the data is thrown openly on the internet. The situation is so out of control that administrators have not been able to inform the victims about the data leak. While Ukraine is looking westwards to amp up its weaponry, it is equally focusing on its own private players in the ongoing arms race. Innovation is coming from venture capitalists. It is coming from engineers and military officials who are pumping out thousands of combat drones in a booming wartime industry. High-ranking military officials are mingling with drone suppliers and engineers to look for the best attack drones. California-based company Aleph Aeronautics is given a limited certification by the United States Federal Aviation Administration to test fly its own flying car. The car, which looks just like an other traditional car, was allowed a vertical takeoff. Although the vehicle already has the capacity to fly, it will still take a long time to be used by the masses. Lithuania's capital has a new fleet of autonomous robot carriers delivering groceries across the city. Funded by nation's delivery startup Last Mile in cooperation with Estonian-based global autonomous delivery innovator WION. 3 arcs will deliver shopping without a driver. The small golf buggy-like autonomous vehicle waits for instructions for the next delivery in store. The arcs come in different shapes and sizes. They even have lockable compartments suitable for smaller and larger online grocery orders.